Innovation. Let's hope 32 NFL teams had to go the innovation route.
Is interventional? Interventional is a word, right? Interventional?
Intervention's a word.
No, there's.
You might need
I
a
looked this up.
vocabulary
I was having this
intervention.
conversation with Carrie last night. Hey, by the way, let me introduce you.
You're trying to get your wife to tell me intervention's a word? I like it. It's a good word. I think we should put it in. I think we should submit it to Merriam-Webster.
Yes.
The intersection of innovation and invention. Innovation.
Here's another thing I want to.
Good morning, Monday podcast listeners.
Submit to the dictionary company. Maybe Wikipedia.
Okay.
I'm not a 3-time state champion like you. I'm merely a draft pick. Okay, just merely an NFL draft pick.
Yes.
I've been around you 20 years or more.
Yes.
I've talked to you about my innermost secrets.
Yeah.
Every bit and piece. We wrote a book together where I put myself out there to you.
Yes, we did. For YouTube listeners, here's the book. For Facebook watchers, there's the book. That's why I'm here, the Chris and Stephanie Spielman
I
story.
can't be around to edit you 24 hours a day.
I needed you.
You're a journalist. And truth matters, and facts matter, and I'm assuming accuracy still matters.
It matters.
Maybe not in today's journalism, but from the Bruce Hooley School of Journalism,
under this roof,
it matters.
Matters here, yeah.
Yes, 29th pick overall, Bruce.
Here's a lesson, kids. Don't work off your memory. Look it up. Look it up, okay?
I know I'm not a 3-time state champion.
2-time.
Oh,
you're snarking me here.
2
times.
I mean, why don't you just punch me in my head?
Okay.
When I'm not looking.
So Dave Biddle of Bucknuts Saturday night is celebrating the Lions draft, and he says, "Wow, this Lions draft's really good. My favorite Lions draft since '88 when we stole a great linebacker out of Ohio State in the 2nd round." And something else, I don't know. I think he got the Barry Sanders, Chris Spielman draft mixed up. Barry was the year after.
Yeah, Benny Blades was the first.
Benny Blades, and then William White later on in that draft in the 4th round, I believe. So I responded to bids. I was like, well, Spiels is not going to have this. Don't put the 2nd round label on my man. I wanted to give him the response you always give, which is don't say 2nd round, say
29th overall.
29th overall pick. In the years of a 2018 league, right?
Yeah.
And I said 30th overall pick.
Yeah. That just cut me deep again.
Probably affected your work on the Lions draft. From that point on, you probably went right in the tank.
I worked all weekend for the Lions, and I enjoyed it. And I worked on I told them I'd Twitter about the draft or tweet about the draft. I did.
Were you home or were you in Detroit?
No, I was home.
Okay.
I was on all kind of platforms, local Fox station up there. Our old friend Jimmy Powers, he's got 2 guys on their local radio show that seem to rely on me and on their show content. So whatever I say, they want to go opposite. So they try to go to me every time.
Is that Stoney and Wojo?
No, not Stoney and Wojo. Stoney's on in the morning. I'll go on with him, but these other guys, I don't know what their names are.
Okay.
I forget their names, but they're just anti everything.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what really kind of put me off, normally your inaccurate fake news tweet wouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah, you're bigger than that typically.
I wouldn't have brought it up because I never bring things up from the past.
No, never.
But Macy comes in, it was like the Thursday night, I think, after the 1st round.
Yeah.
And she says to me, "Dad, when were you drafted?"
Did she say what round?
No, I said 29th overall. And she goes, "What round?" And that's when I said, "Rounds don't matter. Go to bed."
Rounds don't matter. Go to bed, yeah.
So, there you go. That was my draft story. But I just wanted to, again, come in and try to present an accurate product.
Thank you. I appreciate you correcting me. I needed it. I throw myself on your mercy. I'm glad you're a Christian man and you're required to forgive me and show me grace. Otherwise, I'd be, really in trouble. Oh, my goodness.
The one time I needed to make a phone call.
Yeah, I know. I figured that'd come up today. It's only been 11 years. Oh, shall we move on?
Yes, no.
You want to slay me a few more times? I think that's only 35 lashes with the cat and mouse. You got 4 left.
I want to end event and move on.
Okay, very good. Great draft for the Buckeyes. We'll go through that. We'll go through which teams we think did well. I've got some sleeper picks that I really liked.
Okay.
I thought your Lions were right there having a great draft. We'll go through my list of where I think who had the best landing spot for a Buckeye. That's related to what that team's need is and what kind of player I think they are and where they fit in and the personnel around them, because nobody in the NFL does what they do without help on the football team.
Sure.
So we have all that coming up. We want to remind you, Hemisphere Coffee Roasters is the official coffee of the Spielman and Hooley podcast. Nicaragua, Ethiopia, Thailand, some of the countries that they buy their coffee direct from growers. They help the growers get more money than they would get if the government were involved and they were skimming profits off the top. They do good things, good missional things in those markets. We appreciate Hemisphere very, very much. Their mission is our mission, which is to help spread the gospel around the world. And so we would invite you to order your coffee from hemispherecoffeeroasters.com. Use the promo code WeTackleLife in all caps. And you'll get a 15% discount if you'd like to donate that to COVID-19 relief here on the podcast. You can by just noting in the comment section. I listen to the Spielman and Hooley podcast. That's how I heard about you. Then they'll donate 20% of sales to COVID-19 relief. If you don't know what the COVID-19 relief is, Chris has auctioned a lot of his memorabilia, a lot of his really cool memorabilia, both Big Ten championship rings. We take your nominations for people who need help in this time with a lot of people unemployed. We award 4 people every Friday, $250 each, $1,000.
You know, I'm not being snarky here, but we got to tweet out today the 4 winners from last Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do that.
No,
I got the names to carry right away, and then I forgot to do that.
But I want to report that all 4 have been paid, because that's my get the money in their hands as quick as possible. And so that's been taken care of. And, there's some guys out there. I received 3 tweets this week about 40,000 is not enough with a man of my wealth and connections. Isn't that
What's
amazing?
that saying? You can't please all the people all the time?
No, you got to be Paul. You got to be all things to all people, which I thought was absolutely fascinating that somebody would actually say that, because they don't, without being educated on what the root motivation was. We're not taking donations from people for this. This was a family thing. This was where my children were contributing, where I was raising the money myself, where I was sacrificially giving. But it's hard to I don't have to explain the number that I'm doing, but when you're in a public eye, I do feel sometimes you have to, there's no obligation to, but I want people to understand what the motivation is, because the motivation isn't about boosting me up. It's about trying to be Christ-like or doing God's work. And then you have somebody with the nerve to say, well, that's not enough. That, with all his wealth and connections, you don't know anything about my wealth. You don't know. Believe me, if I were wealthy, I wouldn't be sitting in here doing a podcast, or I wouldn't be getting on an airplane 5 times or 25 times a year and living away from home 4 times a week. Obviously, you don't know me. I don't like to leave my house. I don't go out. So don't sit there and tell me what's enough and what's not enough, jackass. That's not very Christian of me. I apologize.
No,
your behavior was jackass.
As Paul said, if I were still trying to please men, I wouldn't be serving Christ. You're not trying to please men. We don't compare ourselves to those who, commend themselves by themselves.
Right. I'm sorry.
I
apologize.
Here's someone who did appreciate and does appreciate what you're doing. His name is Mark. Mark nominated his brother. We drew Mark's name out. Mark, email spielmanhooleypodcast@gmail.com, and that's how you can email a nomination of anyone who who needs COVID-19 relief. He says when we emailed him that he had won, and Carrie got in touch with him and arranged for him to access the money immediately. Oh my goodness, thank you very much for your help. If there's any way I can help you out, please let me know. I would be willing to spend a day on the road delivering things you need done or doing some other legwork to help you out. God bless you. I love you guys, and I love you for what you do. You are truly angels on earth. Please remember me if you need a favor. So there you go. Maybe that makes up for the
it does,
jackassical behavior of
Thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating sometimes. And
it was a tough week for you on Twitter.
It was.
You were not giving enough money, and you were
promoting people getting hammered. Apparently,
We'll get in.
I look.
We're gonna cut that guy some grace.
I
because
did cut him.
Yeah, I
grace
know you
if
did. I know you did.
If
I
you
know.
looked at my
I'm
responses.
talking about our listeners cutting it.
Oh,
All right, so let's get to the draft.
okay.
Chase Young 2, Jeff Okuda 3. You said Friday the Lions will not take Jeff
Joe
Okuda
Burrow
3.
1, so that's 3.
Sorry, I forgot the other. Forgot the first Buckeye.
Is he not an alum?
He's an alum. Yes.
Okay, so 3 Buckeyes. Yes. Okay. Continue.
All right, very good.
You hate that.
I don't hate it. I just like don't think of Joe. I don't think of Joe as a Buckeye.
Oh.
I don't. I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay if you do. It's okay if many people do.
Okay.
I just don't think of him as a Buckeye because okay, so give me the great Joe Burrow Buckeye highlight.
As a Buckeye?
Yeah.
A heck of a spring game.
Grabbing his diploma.
Yeah, get his
That's-
degree,
that's-
which it's all
that's his
about.
highlight. Okay.
Student athlete, my friend. Student athlete.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Buckeyes go 1, 2, 3 for purposes of this podcast. They didn't need to go 1, 2, 3 to get 3 first rounders because they got Damon Arnett, went 19th overall to the Las Vegas
There you go.
Raiders. They're in Vegas this year. Where are they going to play?
I don't know what the stadium was behind. I don't know if they're playing one more year in California, but I think they're going to be referred to. Well, I don't even know if California teams are going to play in California.
Yeah, true.
I have some news on that. I talked to Rick yesterday
Okay.
about the plans moving forward, but that was the biggest surprise in the first round to me. Not Jordan Love to the Green Bay Packers, Damon Arnett. And this is not a knock on Damon.
Nope.
I just don't think most teams had him as a first round corner. I think if Damon Arnett wouldn't have lasted long day 2
I agree.
of the draft, but I just don't think most teams thought of Damon as a top 20 pick. But good for him, and then he has a chance
Absolutely.
to go improve it, and it proves my point on the value of corners
Yes, it
and
does.
how important they are, and teams would be willing to. This is not reach on a guy that maybe isn't a consensus number 1 or first round pick. Some people had Damon maybe really late in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a little early, but hey, Damon, you got an opportunity and go prove everybody like he always did and plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Go prove everybody that this is where you belong. So good for him.
So let me do Damon a favor. Let me enlarge the chip on his shoulder. Because I wrote on BruceHooley.com rating the Buckeye landing spots that he got the toughest situation. Not because Vegas is a bad franchise, not because Gruden and Mayock don't know what they're doing, just because I'm rating expectations, who he is, the pressure the fans are going to put on him, all that kind of stuff. The expectations for KJ Hill in San Diego are not the same as the expectations for Damon Arnett.
To be a 7th rounder
in Las
than a
Vegas.
first rounder.
So I wrote, getting overdrafted is great on draft night because it means you're going to get paid more than you expected.
Yep.
It's not great any day after that other than payday because you become the guy on the wrong end of, we could have had fill in the blank here of overachieving best rookie instead of you. That's Damon Arnett's fate in Las Vegas, which also isn't exactly a place free of distractions for a young guy with a lot of money in his pocket. Oh, and Arnett is also the guy the Raiders took with one of the first-round picks they received for Khalil Mack. So he has that pressure too. He'll start immediately, and if he produces, he'll be fine. But NFL officials might not put up with his grabby style of coverage that he used at Ohio State. And they might not. You look at even the highlight tape they showed of Damon Arnett on the draft, I'm like, they could have called PI there. Could have called holding there.
I think when corners have ability and they get grabby, NFL coaches, and I talk about this all the time because, again, these are conversations that I have with all coaches, and I love it. But all coaches think this, that when I get him, he'll be okay. Or, in Ohio State's case, because they know what a great job Jeff Hafley did coaching the secondary in San Francisco, they say, well, Jeff Hafley coached him, and I trust in Jeff Hafley.
Yeah.
And if Jeff Hafley, which I'm sure Mayock did his work, because he's a hard-working guy, talked to Jeff, and Jeff gave him a endorsement, then I really am not surprised because, and this was my arguments on Twitter all week, which by the way, I love arguing football all week. I enjoyed it. Arguing or agreeing or saying why. But because of that nature of that position, Bruce, it is vital. It is the most important position on the defensive side of the ball. I know there can be an argument made for pass rushers, and pass rushers help defenders. I get it, but to me, if you can't or don't have the ability athletically in the back end, and you're bad in your pass defense because it's such a passing league, and because quarterbacks that are really good get rid of the ball quickly, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance if you don't have a strong secondary.
Let's go through the Bengals draft here first of all, because they started off
I actually
with Joe
liked
Burrow.
it, by the way, but it's hard to screw up if you got the first pick.
It is hard to screw up if you have the first round pick. So of course, when I call up the Bengals, then they don't show up here on NFL.com. They took T. Higgins, a wide receiver out of Clemson, in the second round, first pick of the second round. I like T. Higgins. I think, T. Higgins could prove to be a really great wide receiver. T. Higgins could prove to be an underachieving wide receiver. I don't know. But one of the things that's going to give T. Higgins a chance is A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd.
Well, you got 4 guys right now. And don't forget, was it John Brown? Or what's it?
No,
John Ross.
Brown's not.
John Ross.
Oh, yeah.
John Ross.
I am forgetting John Ross.
Yes, you are.
On purpose, I'm forgetting
Well,
John Ross.
but John Ross flashed a little bit last year at the very least.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we'll give a guy 3 years.
In his role, he has an opportunity to flash a lot.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can. Hopefully Joe Burrow will take advantage.
And this is John Ross's 3rd year,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
Time to produce.
So it's time to go, right?
Yep.
This is it. And a healthy A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. I don't mind them taking a wide receiver when they took it. And my goal is, look, because they have their number 1 pick from last year that didn't play, so that it's almost like they got a tackle and a quarterback as a first round pick. But here's why I like it, because their thought process is, I got to give my rookie starting quarterback every chance to succeed. So in order to give them those chances to succeed, I have to surround them with as many good players as possible.
No doubt.
That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, and I guess there's some doubt as to whether A.J. Green will play for them. I mean, the franchise tagged him, so I don't know why he wouldn't, but...
he's going to play. He's not going to walk away from money.
Then they got a linebacker from Wyoming in the 3rd round,
He's a
Logan
good player.
Wilson. Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
Can run. Just really playmaker. I mean, just football player. Runs better than people think. I think he'll be a starter too. I think he's a starter, absolutely, because the Bengals were hurting at linebacker last year.
A bad team, a 3rd round pick should start, because he's as close to being a 2nd rounder as he could be, and your top 2 round guys ought to start.
He's just a guy that makes plays.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Remind you of anyone?
Well, there's a couple guys that do, but it's like, say, like a Zach Thomas. Remember Zach Thomas? You probably
Miami
covered
Dolphins.
Zach, didn't you?
Zach, yes, I did.
For a year or 2, but
Texas
I mean, those are guys that Zach was a 5th rounder. Those are guys that just make plays, and he's a guy that will make some plays for them.
They went heavy linebacker in this draft. They drafted a linebacker
3
out
of
of
them,
App State
I believe.
in the 4th round, and then they got a guy that we know well because he's from Hilliard, Marcus Bailey, who had 2 torn ACLs at Purdue, but boy, he played well against the Buckeyes, and I imagine Marcus Bailey's going to go into Cincinnati's training camp breathing fire trying to make that team.
I think it's awesome. There were 2 guys, Marcus Bailey, and there was another linebacker from another school, and I'm sorry I can't recall what team or what school, but what I do recall is that he also had 2 ACL injuries during his career. So when I see guys that not only come back from 1 ACL, but come back from 2 ACLs and they get drafted, I mean, that is such an announcement and just a testimony in hard work and never giving up and not getting down on yourself and not losing hope and working hard to come back. And that was so cool that not only 1, but 2 guys, both linebackers, not surprisingly, because linebackers, quite frankly, Bruce, do have a different mentality than a wide receiver.
Yes, they do.
Or DB. So I'm good. I was happy for that kid. And maybe he can be a player. He played well against Ohio State. You're absolutely right.
All right, let's go to the Browns. Jedrick Wills, tackle out of Alabama, a right tackle at Alabama, but a blindside protector, will be converted to left tackle in Cleveland. Joe Thomas lauded that pick. We talked about it Friday.
Yeah, Joe loved it.
So we move on to round 2. Grant Delpit, the Thorpe Award winner, safety out of LSU, had a really good 2018. Not such a great 2019, but he had high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Came back at the end of the year and played pretty well. Defensive tackle Jordan Elliott out of Missouri. I don't know anything about him. Big 12 defensive player. So I'm always like, really? Another linebacker out of LSU, Jacob Phillips. LSU dominated the draft in terms of number of
14.
picks. They took him before the Ravens took Malik Harrison.
Mhm.
So they like the LSU kid over the Ohio State kid. Of course they do. The Ohio State kid has the stink of being an Ohio State kid on him from the Browns' perspective.
Not the Lions' perspective.
Not the Lions' perspective. Not the Ravens' perspective. In round 4, they took a tight end, Harrison Bryant, out of Florida Atlantic, who Charlie Casserly gushed about. He said, best pick under the radar, Harrison Bryant, tight end, Florida Atlantic. I don't remember him when Ohio State played Florida Atlantic, but they didn't score. They scored. Well,
So
I guess they scored 27
what that
points.
tells me is, if they go a couple tight end sets in Njoku, I don't know what his status is.
Nobody knows what his status is.
But
all airport. David Njoku gets off the bus, and you're like,
he's
whoa, who is that dude?
Well, when he's on, he's a good player. So I don't know
is he on? Whatever.
I don't know, but I mean, obviously this kid can run. That's what I know about him.
Yeah.
And so anytime you have a tight end that can run, it puts pressure on safeties and linebackers.
Round 5, they took a center, an undersized center, Nick Harris from the Washington Huskies, who started a ton of games out there. Looks like a good, guy you get in the 5th round, a guy who fits in. Maybe he becomes a starter in a couple of years when J.C. Tretter's done, but he's probably a depth guy. And then in round 6, their most intriguing pick, and this, boy, did I anger people by referring to Donovan Peoples-Jones of Michigan as Carlton Mitchell. Now, you may not remember Carlton Mitchell.
I don't remember Carlton.
When I was in Cleveland, the Browns had a guy, and there's always a guy on the team, right, who they take late in the rounds, and he looks like Adonis, and he shows in practice, like who's a guy? Auden Tate is that guy with the Bengals, okay?
Exactly.
There's always a guy that you look at and you go, well, why isn't that guy a star? Look at this body on this guy. Look, he runs this way, he runs this way. So my friend Tony Rizzo, host of the Really Big Show, came up with one of the great nicknames of all time for Carlton Mitchell. He referred to him as Bigfoot. And the reason why he referred to him as Bigfoot is because we hear about the legend of Carlton Mitchell, but we never see anything from Carlton Mitchell. And so when they picked Donovan Peoples-Jones, I said, Mary Kay Cabot. Oh, they get DPJ out of Michigan. I said, another Carlton Mitchell. Oh, I got all this pushback from Michigan fans. He had the worst quarterback situation in the Big Ten.
Can't argue with that.
No, he did not have anywhere close to the worst quarterback situation in the Big Ten. I'll give you that his freshman year when he had John O'Korn and Brandon Peters. But Shea Patterson, as inconsistent as he is, and he's very inconsistent.
Are you going to say something nice about Shea Patterson?
No. I'm going to say something bad about Rutgers quarterbacks, Maryland quarterbacks. Remember Maryland went through like 3 guys in a game at Ohio State?
Yes.
Michigan State, do I need to remind anybody about Brian Lewerke?
Signed with the Patriots, by the way.
Throwing a ball? Of course he did. He's Brian Hoyer Jr. He's Brian Hoyer's kid. But I'm just like, he did not have the worst quarterback situation in the Big Ten. Donovan Peoples-Jones flashed as a freshman on special teams against Ohio State. Urban gushes about DPJ because Urban's the jilted boyfriend with DPJ. He recruited the crap out of him, and he didn't get him. And how many times does Urban lose to Michigan in recruiting? Like once, and so that's the one he remembers. Now, do I think Donovan Peoples-Jones would have been a much better player if he came to Ohio State? I do. Because he'd been surrounded by much better players. He would have been developed better, because I think it's inarguable. Michigan's not developing players like Ohio State. But to act like the Browns got some steal from Donovan Peoples-Jones, when you go out early and you get picked in the 6th round, or the 5th round, Jake Fromm, you should have stayed in school.
Well, I don't know if he could have ever helped himself. Maybe he looked at the quarterback situation at Michigan next year.
Maybe.
And said, well, why?
This is worse than what I've been dealing with.
NFL guys draft guys on potential, on what they see. And it was such a deep receiver class. 32 wide receivers drafted overall. Bruce. 32.
That's a lot.
Does that tell you
That's an entire round. That's 1/7.
Does that tell you the importance of and give you a snapshot of what this game is?
Yep.
And does that tell you why corners are being drafted all over the place?
Pass rushers, left tackles,
that's
quarterbacks.
And everybody else, we'll fill in with this guy. We'll fill in with this guy. So
I don't doubt that Donovan Peoples-Jones can be a good player. He might be one of those guys they say, would he be a better pro than a college player? He might be. I'm just saying, at Michigan, I kept hearing about Donovan Peoples-Jones,
right?
And they had other guys who were better at his position.
he didn't scare anybody at Ohio State. But I think for his case, he might be one of those guys that once he gets that opportunity and gets with a guy that can put the ball in his hands, then maybe he can shine. So it's a good pick at 5. I think it's a good pick at 5. 6.
Yeah.
I think it's
Sure. I mean, he's an athlete. He's on the board.
You got nothing to lose at 6.
No. Everything in those rounds is a roll of dice.
Yeah.
Everything. We want to commend other people who are doing their part to help people in a tough time. Kurtz Brothers Mulch and Soils, longtime sponsor of our radio show, longtime friends of mine. They are offering 38% off bulk mulch. So you go with a trailer at your truck, you get your mulch, you got a mulch, and you're like, wow, I hate to spend the money on mulch. Well, you don't have to hate to spend the money at Kurtz Brothers because, hey, it's great mulch. And they'll give you 38% off in the form of a Visa gift card that they want you to spend however you want. But I mean, the idea is go patronize a local restaurant, which is also hurting.
Smart.
So remember Kurtz Brothers Mulch and Soils, Dublin, Westerville, Alexandria, and just off
I-71. Did they pay for that
South
airtime?
They did not. They're friends of mine.
Okay.
And
I got a lot of friends too.
They're good people. Oh, bring them on. Bring your car guy
I'm just
on.
kidding. I know their guy. Mark Lobb.
Mark Lobb.
Buyers
Bring him on.
Mazda, Dublin Subaru.
There you go. People
One of
can
the best-
patronize
one
our
of the
longtime
best
sponsors.
Guys I've ever been around. One of the most sincere guys. You've met Mark.
I think I've said hi to Mark once. Yeah.
Okay.
Mark with a look at the big windmill up on
The lawman.
270.
Former
And what was
sheriff.
Mark was a former sheriff?
Yeah, and still works part time airport police. So
Really?
yeah, he's I tell you, if there's a civil war or civil unrest, I'm going to his house.
Foxhole?
Mark understands how weapons are used. Just put it that way.
Love that. Exercise that Second Amendment right, my friend. So yeah, that's Kurtz Brothers and Mark Lobb, Buyers Dublin Mazda Subaru. All right, let's get to your Lions draft. Jeff Okuda is going to walk in, going to start day 1, and I rate his situation as the best situation of any Buckeye in the draft because he's there to take on the Darius Slay position, which puts some pressure on him, but he's equipped to handle it, and he'll be fine.
So one of the arguments that was being posed to me was that they should have drafted Tua and get rid of Stafford.
So that would make sense.
I mean,
You have a good player, get rid of him. And I know they're saying, well, Darius Slay left. He's a good player. Well, you got to replace
he's
Darius
29
Slay.
years
Yeah.
old. He didn't want to be there,
Yeah.
and his cap number is going to be way more than Okuda's. I mean, I don't understand. And Jeff is going to be effective.
Yeah.
He's by far. I did a survey because I was, I am actually going to do some research before I tweet things out and make sure that I'm not the only one that has this opinion. So I talked to a lot of guys that I have around the league in scouts and in the TV industry and all that and break down and do all these evaluations at an in-depth level. It's not even close to who the best cover corner was. Not even close. So if you're a team that plays more man-to-man defense than any team in the league, if your pass defense ranked 32nd last year, why would you not draft the head above everybody else and Jeff Okuda? And I'll go through the Lions picks. Who was number 2 was the
DeAndre Swift, running back Georgia.
So if you can get a Nick Chubb-like performance from DeAndre Swift, that's a winner. But they have a kid named Kerryon Johnson that's a really good running back, but he just can't stay healthy. So when you draft these guys, you create competition in that room. And the other thing you do, Bruce, everybody, as you know, is going to 2 running backs.
They are.
They don't want just one running back. They want 2. The Vikings have Dalvin Cook. Well, Dalvin Cook has had injuries. Then they drafted a kid out of Boise State last year, Alexander Madison. So these guys are all good players.
Notre Dame edge rusher Julian Okwara round 3. Then we get to Jonah Jackson later in round 3, the Buckeye guard via Rutgers graduate transfer. Then in round 4, they double up on a guard to take Logan Stenberg
Out of
Kentucky. So it sounds to me like they've got a spot there in the middle of the line, and they're going to throw a stake on the table and let Jonah Jackson and Logan Stenberg fight it out. Stenberg's 6'6". Most guards in the NFL are not 6'6". I don't know anything about Stenberg. He started a bunch of games, and he's very well thought of.
I know a lot about him.
I wouldn't doubt